Testing, testing. Okay, so this is my first attempt to use my little microphones. Or no, it's not. It's my second attempt. And I don't know. I didn't really get a sense that one was better than the other, but we'll find out today, I think. I know I definitely wouldn't be able to do this in my room. Like, I would be, the office is more like echoey, so this will be an interesting test. I mean, that's the point of buying the microphones. It's like, oh, I can do this from anywhere. Oh my gosh. All right, so part two. Sorry, I should have said that. Okay, so part two, extreme close up because this is where I can rest my hand and keep it relatively still. Okay, so where we left off, I'm going back to just doing videos. I know you desperately want to know this. I think it's safe for me to rely on uploads again because I feel like I understand what God was trying to talk to me about. I still don't know, like, there might be something definitive that he's trying to get me to understand, but I think overall he was just trying to get me to start. And now that I've started, I understand, I think, what he's wanting me to do. So, we're going to test that theory out with my part two video. So, where we left off, I think this was probably all in episode 6. So a lot of stuff happened in the middle of the season that I will keep to myself for now. But one thing that did happen that was amazing is that, and maybe I'll post this too because now I feel like I'm getting this understanding of like what I can do, and part of that is um, making clips of little things that would be like really hard to even start to recreate because it's like, how do I even go about telling you about this without being completely like, it's just too hard to recreate when you're trying to tell somebody for the first time, not somebody that you like trust with the information, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to post it, and they're in the rawest possible form, not only because you know I'm recording them alone and I'm zooted, but like I had no intention of sharing it or even ever contemplated that they would be shared. So, um, that's my only hesitancy because it's like that's going to be some real raw energy. But I think that's where God is wanting me to go with it. So anyway, I think this is going to be the last one that I do that I need to do. Everything else is sort of in progress or can like really just be clipped up better than me telling you about them. Like after this season, it's pretty much just downloads all the time. Uh, you know, most of this is just like meandering of like how I got to where I'm at. And then this is like the season where I arrived. So this will probably be my last one about, my last recap of an entire season. So, anyway, so he brought up this moment that I've talked about. I'd made a video about. It's when I spoke in tongues for the first time, and the video I do believe is entitled "How to Speak in Tongues." And um, so I just kind of chronicled the way that I did it because I felt like it was really unique. And he brought up that moment of me and a Pew basically learning on my own. And, he was telling me like how it shaped my theology. And that's why mine was coming out a little different than other people's. He's basically telling me like that was a big moment. Like, and sort of affirming, because we have these little pet moments that we like, that we think are significant, and when we try to share them or whatever, people don't always, they're like, oh, okay, but it's not like what it is for you. So it makes sense that God would be that person for you to reinforce, like, that was the moment. Like, who else would do that? It's not, we're so used to that being like our own personal weird delusion, but it's like, well, naturally, the maker of you would also be probably having an equivalent, more so, it's more so. So, you know, he was going in on that moment, and literally, like, I felt his presence come through. And recently, like, re-listened to all of these, like, and looking back on it now, I'm like, okay, that was absolutely, God came through that whole experience. Like, yeah, I was pretty zooted, but um he came through, like, listening to myself detail it, and I was remembering it. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't the drugs. That was him coming through because he could, like, because of the drugs. Like, if I was just sober and that started happening, you know what I mean? I'd be too, like, I wouldn't, because you kind of have to keep it going a little bit. Like, it's not that far beyond you, so you can kind of disrupt it. Like, you think it's like God, oh my gosh, and you can just like talk all through it, and be distracted, and not when you're up, when you're dead, maybe, but not when that's coming through to you. So, that's me. I'm a prisoner of my mind. Like, so other people can, have those experiences or whatever, but if you're on drugs, it's all good because it just was able to come through, and I really, really felt his presence, and he was trying to talk nice to me. And the other thing that I realized re-listening to this is, like, the the amount of effort that he put forth in sort of trying to rebuild my identity, like really, really rebuild it. So he really pressed into the moments where that needed to happen, and this was one of those moments. And he was just like, we remember that moment, and we were rejoicing, basically, or impressed or whatever, because the whole point of it was, like, I sort of discovered this thing on my own. Um, no pomp, no circumstance. Like, I was just in a pew by myself, and I noticed that I no longer had the reins of it. It was like he did it behind my back. It was like I wasn't even paying attention. And he was kind of saying, like, that's when the Holy Spirit is doing his best work when we're not paying attention. Like, if it's something he asks you to do, then yeah, do that, apply that energy in faith or whatever. But, like, if it's something that he's supposed to do and he just needs you to be the vessel that it comes through, like, it's kind of better if you're not even paying attention. Like, don't even be awake. Like, so it was like I noticed that, and that happened to me early enough to where I had a completely different view of, like, the supernatural than everybody that I came in contact with, like, as an adult, because um I knew it was possible, and I knew it didn't look like what anybody would expect. Even when you think of something that's done completely in faith or whatever, you're not literally thinking he's going to start while your head is turned and we be working through you while you're not paying attention. Like, I know I ain't heard that sermon yet, you know what I'm saying? And I got that revelation early. And I'm not saying, like, People weren't. I assumed that that's what everyone was having. That was the first time that happened to me. So I thought that was the club I was joining. But then I realized, like, oh, I don't think other people even know what this is or have really experienced this, because they wouldn't even be asking that question if they knew the nature of it. You know what I'm saying? So, so yeah, he brought that up to me, and then that was the same episode where I said I prayed and I was like, Lord, like, let me feel like this all the time. And it dawned on me that I had never just asked him for that. Like the moment I asked it, I realized that I had never asked that. I had always relied on taking drugs or whatever. And I can't remember. This must have been, it kind of all got jumbled up. So this might have been the same episode, or a little, it might have been happening during. Sometimes I'm recording something all day, like I leave it paused and come back to it, leave it paused and come back to it. So this might have been all the same episode or around that, because I think it was around here that I started to um, have to like tell other people, or I think I was definitely like spilling it out a little by little with my husband, like just because it was like, you're going to tell the person that's in the room with you if you're, you know, it's not very easy to contain. And just, I was really doing it. I was going to like gauge his reaction, but I really thought like, you go through that thing when you first going to tell somebody, and then you realize like, why did I think they were going to be cool with that? Like you can't remember why. Um, or you're like, why didn't that work? Why? Sometimes you're like, why didn't that person? That should have worked. That should have person should have understood like the context of why I was coming. Like it's kind of one of those moments, but so I'd already been doing that, by this time, because I mean, this is what, probably like the end of August. So from end of April to end of August, that's 5 months, bro. May, June, July, August. So I don't think it wasn't a secret all that time. But like July, I told my first person, because that was around my birthday. Like actually told them, oh, okay. And then yeah, so that the end of last season, there was something that happened that there's a couple things that happened. Okay, so he had been on the he had known about it, did not approve of it, and got to the point where he himself was gonna start telling other people. So he told uh his brother, because he told his brother pretty much everything as far as I can tell. Um and then he told my mom, and he thought that he was going to tell my mom and I was going to be in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Because my mom, I think I've talked a little bit about that relationship, but I knew I was testing it for her sake, because I wanted to have an explanation ready. And it was like, this was the day that I was able to have an explanation ready, because when I asked him, like, make me, like, let me be able to feel like this all the time, I realized that not once had I asked him for that, even after, the little bit, the ask class that I'd sort of um, been involved in the last couple, like at least month or 6 weeks. The I am your genie thing happened a month before. That was in July. So he was teaching me to ask, and I was still seeing these big, gaping blind spots, because I was so abhorrent with asking. So it was like that very moment that I prayed that prayer, I thought like, and the recording is wild because I thought he was really gonna do that shit. Like, because when I said that, it was like, I don't, how do you explain it? It's like, yeah, you know, you're on drugs, and yeah, things kick in at certain times, but it shouldn't be able to kick in as soon as you say, ask God to let you feel like that all the time. So I started feeling that, and it was like, I realized that I had taken the ball out of the court of drugs and just went straight to him and asked him, like, can you just look me straight up to the thing? I had never done that. I had never done that. And I realized, like, this was another, like, milestone. Like, he was trying to get me to that spot. It was to the point that I was like, yo, or is this going to be like a short season finale? Like, a short season or whatever? Like, because we're only 6 episodes in. And I knew this was like the thing that he was like, I thought it was the thing. He was like, no, we got some more episodes to go. I remember that. So, yeah, I started this sort of tutorial where I was asking for more because it did eventually die down. And then at that point, I was scared to ask for more, scared to admit that I still wanted more. Scared. It was like all of this crap, like unable to really ask. And then it was like, well, and then I had all of this previous teaching in there too. And I was like, bro, it was really overwhelming. Like, I had um I had high hopes for myself, but at the same time I was just like, do I have to figure this out right now? So I did like a little bitty class that day, and it worked. And that's the other thing too. It does like diminish like that first time, and you try to like get back to that energy. It's kind of like not possible really, like to ask in the same way that you initially asked. It's like you can't get back to that, but you can maintain a level, you know what I mean? And then if you're always going up in higher levels, it doesn't really matter that you can't get back to that other one. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what should be happening. So, yeah, I kind of was as hopeless as you might think somebody who was going to who was learning to swim for, their first day of class. Like, that's what it was. And this person like hates water and and doesn't like to go near the water and has a phobia of water. So that was basically where I was at with it. But you do learn things quickly in the spirit. I will say that. I think I did address that in a previous episode. Um, but yeah, I did learn. I did realize. I was noticing. I was like, I when I last was here, this was like difficult, or it was like it was new, and I was like toddling, and then I came back to it, and it's like I never had that tutorial. It was like, and I remember I said it seemed like my spirit learned it, and then like it was just learning it in the background like this entire time until I came back, and now it's like that's what it was like. So yeah, spiritual things like that particularly was talking about like the prophecy stuff. I'm pretty sure. So then the next episode, I should say, because it's not always like the next day. It's just like the next episode. So then he started. Now I'm really in the groove of when we hang out. It's like I know I'm understanding who my friend is here. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm like, we're going through the scriptures, this and that. So he take me through the scriptures, and I don't know, as I was listening to something in the Old Testament, I think, and the whole episode, this is going to be a clip that I'm going to put up too. He's like, don't think of it like a religious organization the way you would think of it now. He said that was a government. Think of it like your government. It was a holy government, but that's what it was. Your government is based on that government. So it's mostly government, and then with a little bit of, holy, religiousness around it. Like, not a little bit, but you know what I mean. Like, it was 80-20 government, you know what I'm saying? And this picture starts to form. And I'm like, I'm calling him babe, full blown at this point. I'm like, babe, are you about to show me like what life was like? Because I'm confused. You're trying to get into the motives of the people you're reading about and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I, did well enough. I did my best. You know what I'm saying? Now he's showing me this like understanding, and I'm like, I'll probably have to put it up because he gave it to me like right there on the spot. Whoops. Which is what he typically does, but like it's interesting because sometimes there are yeah, I was listening, I re-listened to something and it said something like, okay, now we're gonna practice words of knowledge or something. And now I'm like, when was that? When did I say that? But yeah, sometimes he gives you something, he gives you a little bit at a time, or sometimes he gives you the whole thing. That's one thing that I've been realizing is that, at the end of this season, I got this like mega download revelation that he gave me. And I said, I mean, I was blown away by it, and you can tell. I might post that. I mean, I would have to post that. That's like the only thing worth posting. That's the main one, I guess. But like when I'm going back and listening to things from months ago, he already told me it. And the episode that I'm talking about, it's basically like a less calm version of the previous. Okay, I don't know what I just did, but it was blinking, so maybe I paused it. That would be so cool. Never mind. It's got to be like mute or something. Okay. Anyways, um, so yeah, he gave me this whole thing, but he had told it to me months before, and low key, he had told it to me years before. It's the same message, but like it just gets more and more illuminated. It's almost like uh, it's very akin to like taking a hammer to. It's like every time every time you have that same conversation with God about a matter, it's like you're taking a hammer to it and you're about to break through and like understand it. So some things don't take very much. It's like the first time he mentions it, you have an epiphany. You're like, oh, and then sometimes he tells it to you a couple of times, and then it's like that triggers the epiphany because now you've heard it like 3 times. You're like, okay, now listen, right? And then sometimes you hammer it and hammer it and hammer it and hammer it and hammer it away at that revelation. And that's what this was for me. He has been telling me this. I got a record of it somewhere from something going way, way back. And that is what convinces you, because after you realize how freaking big it is and you go, well, there's no way, then you have to, concede when he shows you, when he told you before, and he told you before that, and he told you before that, and you were cool with it and you thought it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, so, so yeah. But before that, he started just showing me, he's like, no, it's a government. And he's showing me like, and I know it's incomplete. Like he don't show you everything at once. It's like that was the first time that I kind of broke through that. And it really felt like, because I'm zooted too. So my imagination, which is where a lot of revelations take place, because it's like you're trying to imagine something and you're like, wait, he wouldn't say that. He would only say that if he just comes from somewhere. Where was he? You know what I'm saying? It's like that's what helps you picture it. So that thing was like, but it really felt like it was like he took control of it and moved it and made me think of it like as well as I could, because I still don't know, I don't know about the region and the architecture or whatever. I'm just trying to think of like put ancient shit together, you know what I'm saying? But he's like, it's a government and the priests are, that's the civil servants. And, you know, it's like, yeah, you could care about the country. It's like your politics, you know, because there was politicking, some, but it's like the people that are in charge of your government, you can choose to be involved, super involved in it or not. You know what I'm saying? And you'd still be part of the country and you're probably doing the bare minimum. It's like that's kind of like what it was. And then at its, the height of its worst era is when, it's like everything is so prosperous that, now it's like on a decline and nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? It's like even though people kind of know and have been warned of that, they still can't picture it. Or they're like thinking like maybe it'll be after me, maybe I won't be here for it. But they know it's coming. It's like a common thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's showing me that like, yeah, you know how your life is? That's kind of what it was. That world that you grow up in, it was kind of like that one. So, so that was amazing. I'm gonna clip that so you can hear that. But if you care to hear it, I'm gonna just. I mean, how many? I'm trying to disclaim, but I'm not. I know for a fact that I'm not doing as well of a job as I need to, because I'm telling you, they are. He is not mincing words, and he is insistent on using like why am I saying formalities? I'm not zooted really, but like my brain is not being helpful, like less helpful than usual. Um, it's not, I was trying not to say curse words, but it won't give me another word. That's like, just say it, just say curse words. That's what I'm using curse words because, and I keep saying anything with this, like, not really. Like, I'm kind of here for it, but I'm also like, okay, can I be here for it, like, in my own house? Like, why do I have to share that? But then I also know, like, if any of it's got to be shared and it's got to be shared in this way, he's already laid that out again, clips. But I'm just telling you, when he came out of the gate swinging with the, I'll say like it's not even particularly profane. It's not like it's just a lot of emphasis and just normal person talk of the day talk that you would talk to. And as far as like the range of emotions and all that stuff, and like the range of like using this word over that word, like, I mean, if you care to hear it, you will. But and it part of it too is he's using my personality because he's using me. So if he's using me as the vessel, then it's like he's got to use my, like, whatever's in my toolbox. There's a lot of weird shit in my toolbox. But it's like by virtue of the fact that he's using you, he's not like, well, we'll make do. Like he chose your toolbox to deliver the message because you could have used somebody else's, but it's like he had to have picked me because of the understanding that I have of language in order to deliver the message as such. So I'm really tempted to just tell you what I realized today, but it's still kind of wet. The paint's still wet, and I'm like obsessed with chronological order. So moving on. So okay, so I it's necessary for me to tell you about the musical aspect of this. So I've talked about my playlist that I made, and it's like a really integral part to this. It's a way that he uses to communicate. Um, it's a way that I that we keep the I don't know, we keep the vibe going. You know, it's like music is this like bridge. I don't know. It's like using it in its complete, proper, appropriate, like for what it was made for is really interesting. You know, it brings up memories immediately. Like if you're feeling like you're like right now, you know, I couldn't feel far away from God if I tried to, but like if I did, I could use the music like easily. You probably just start coming around like because it's doing something. It's like you're spiritually activating something that you don't have to think about. Like you don't have to know the secrets. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to read the big book and do the Doctor Strange. You just do the stuff that he put in the earth for you to do, and it will naturally do that for you. And you will all you'll know is that you want to suddenly hear a song. That's all you know. That's all you got to know. You don't want to be responsible for all that knowledge and learning the spells and doing the hand gestures and all that. He made you just do whatever made you to do. So it's like you got to do all that. You got to get the book of spells because you didn't come to him to get the information. Otherwise, he'd have told you the simplest way to do it. But you know, wicked and obedient or disobedient and rebellious and want to be in charge of your own life. So you had to go the back way. You probably don't even have to do all that. They just try to make you look stupid. And they make you pay money and fame and blood and your soul and all of this stuff to get this stuff illegally that you could just go get from your father at the front door if you just uh, have some discipline about you and let somebody bigger than you tell you like what you're doing wrong, but you don't want to do that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you might as well. That was low key him talking. That could have been a prophecy just now. He not really making himself known, but I mean that just kind of flowed out. I certainly didn't plan to say all that, and that it was pretty eloquent. So I'm like, that was probably him. So, and I just like if I felt like I needed to um distinguish between me and him, I would have, but I literally just, you know, he knew I was in the middle of making a video. He could just come in and just, you know, whatever and say it like that. Or, you know, it's like that's how it started out. It started out as a total accident. It started out as me paraphrasing, then paraphrasing wasn't enough. So then I just started sort of recalling what he said to me as well as I could. And then I was doing it. Then I was still doing it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it happens like that. Real casual, real like, yeah. So, and honestly, a lot of us have probably experienced it and didn't know, you know, what that was. So anyway, so he put, okay. So yeah, music is kind of a thing in our house, me in particular. And I would have just said me, but like now my daughter is like turning into my twin. And so she is starting to listen to music a lot. And, So she is had a playlist of her own. That I have a playlist that I make for the kids in the car. It's kind of like all type of stuff because I want to get down there in the foundation and form their taste in music because why not? It amuses me, and so that's what I'm doing. And so I said something about Bruno Mars, and she's like 9 years old. She was like, "Who's Bruno Mars?" I was like, "Oh my god, that seems sad. He not even my generation. He done skipped over like y'all don't even know who that is. It's been like." So I was like, I felt bad. I was like, well, let's get some Bruno Mars on your list, right? So the song that I was thinking of, which was Locked Out of Heaven, because it's like a pretty catchy chorus. It's kind of like the style of stuff that they like. But then I like listened to the song and the whole thing's about sex. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. But then I was like, but I'll take it from my playlist. So I was going to put some stuff. I like went through and got like 6 songs or whatever. And I was going to put it on their playlist and it ended up on mine somehow, which I still don't even know how that happened. Like, I mean, yeah, you're clicking on this or that, whatever. But I'm just like, that's so weird. So I had this block of Bruno Mars songs, and like now my list is up to like over 200 songs. Back then, it probably wasn't. It was probably, I don't know, it was probably like 150. Like, so, so yeah, I added those, and I didn't even listen to them at this point. I was like, because when I first was curating this list, it was like I had to listen to every song thoroughly and see if it matched up with the vibe. You know what I'm saying? And if it was like below a certain percentage, like it couldn't be below like 81% vibe. Like it was like, okay, this song doesn't fit. And that's what I was doing. And then after a while, he was like telling me to add things. And then I would listen to those and I'd be like, oh, this is a good one. And then sometimes um, I would not listen to them. I would just rule them out immediately. And like, maybe. And he'd be like, put it on there. And I'd be like, okay. So then I would put it on and I would play it and I'd be like, wow. So that's kind of what I was talking about in the last, my part one. So now to the point where like, I didn't even add those on purpose, but I was like, well, if they play, I'll know, whatever. I'll leave them on there. If not, whatever. So I just left them on random. Well, one of the days, I guess it had to have been the next episode after that. Yeah, it was 8. So it was 7 when he started talking to me about Israel, and that was insane. And he fixed the census for me. Like there's a story about David taking a census. All that is amazing. I will clip it. So so yeah, I mean stuff that you never heard in church, you'll never hear in church because they don't know. They don't know. They know enough to be accurate, but they don't know why it's accurate. They can't expound on a lot of stuff. And the expound, all they can do is do more research than you'll ever do on it and tell you what they found. That's all they can do because they haven't been up there. So, yeah, so we'll talk more about that. So anyway, so yeah, this episode, I had done that a while back. That was just something I had done, whatever. And then I say that because this song came on, like, and I don't know why I was in such a good mood or what was going on or whatever, but I remember being in a good mood and like, I don't know, being all giggly and stuff. And I remember he said, uh, whatever song comes on, like, you have to believe everything it says in the song, like everything it says about you. And I was like, fine, because he knows how hard that is for me. So I just took it as like, you know, another sort of opportunity to learn how to believe good things about yourself or whatever. So the song comes on. I think maybe the song came on and no, he just said that. And then the next song came on and I'm bracing myself because I'm thinking from the intro, I'm going to know what it is. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? So the song starts playing. I don't recognize it. It sounds a little bit like Justin Timberlake or something, but like I don't know what it is. And then I hear the first line. It's like, her eyes, na 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 na, and I know that it's Bruno Mars, and I know the song is Just the Way You Are. I don't know the song. I know it like I don't know it like I know like stuff from my catalog. I just am familiar with the song. I remember it came out. It was everywhere. I remember like Mary Mary did a cover of it. It was cute. It was about their daughters or whatever. But like as far as a song that I want to like listen to, like I never had it on my list because it was just like, why do I want to hear you sing about some other girl? Like that is not me. Like and like nobody like somebody would have to sing that to you at your wedding or whatever. Like I don't know, it just wasn't my thing. I'm sure mostly women love that song. Um but yeah, so but I know what it is and I had never heard the lyrics. So I'm listening to this. First of all, when I realized the song, I'm just like this. Basically throughout the entire song. And it was literally like right at that moment, it was the equivalent of him like getting up on karaoke night and being like, I want to sing the song to my girl in the audience, like, or just getting up and I'm thinking it's just going to be a speech and it's a freaking song, because I was just like the entire time, like as the song kept going, I was just like, what? So that happened, and that started happening like a lot after that. And then there's another song that I don't know if anybody knows, but there's this worship leader out of Bethel Church. Her name is Stephanie Gretzinger, I think. I never heard her last name pronounced. But she put out this album like 10 years ago that was like, I don't know. It was what I needed in that moment. And one of the songs was Come Out of Hiding, and so that came on. And he was like, the next song that comes on, like you have to sing it. So I was singing it, and it was really interesting because he had me sing that song, but that song is written like in his perspective. So it was basically like more of him singing to me, essentially, because that's what he had me sing, and I'm just now putting that together as well. Okay, so yeah, I think that was the day that it was just like we did singing lessons. There was dancing, and dancing is another thing. Like I think I talked about it too, but it's just like him just restoring this thing. He's always trying to get me to like move my body, be aware of your body. It's like I've already like sort of more of a locked up person who's not going to be able to do that. But he's just trying to show me like with the dancing and stuff. It's like just like singing. It's like or music. It's like these things that he gave us to do that we naturally, it's good for us. Like I don't really know how, but I know that's why he's having me do those things. It's not just because like, come on, let's dance. It's like he's trying to get me to do something that's good for me. Like, and I know it, like I know the nature of it when he tells me, but it's not like lost on me. Like just as an individual, I understand like why he's telling me that. But in general, it's like, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he tells a lot of people to do that, or he ups your, you know, dancing the amount of that you dance in a day to like 20%, and like makes that really a priority because it's just like you don't need to know what it's doing. You know what I'm saying? But it's got to be doing something. A lot of emphasis on it in the word too. And then I think that was the same day, like he was helping me cook food in the kitchen. Like I had like some ribs that I bought and I like let him season those. And then he was like, usually make like a big pot of rice, and he was like, just put the whole, because I was gonna be like put a little bit of butter in it and whatever. Like everyone in the house likes buttered rice. He's like, put the whole stick in it. Just put the whole stick in it. Just boop. Like, what are we doing? So he's like teaching me like how to cook and stuff. And he's really more like teaching me honestly, because it's like I can give you like three recent examples. He's teaching me that to trust my instincts because I keep trying to find recipes and stuff because the kids are like picky and this and that. And, everybody's tired of my this and that. So I'm like constantly like looking up a recipe and trying to go back to it and remember it. And he's like, you don't actually need that. Like, you know enough about ratios and like you done this long enough. Like, you don't need to do that. So he's had me like recently like freestyling a couple of meals, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not that I always use a recipe. Like, if whatever I'm cooking, I know the recipe already. And so that's why I'm cooking it. But I always go to a new recipe. I don't just like, even when I go like, and I go, this is the ingredients I have in my kitchen. I go and I try to make something that I already know about that exists. I don't try to wing it and make something new out of what I've got. So, he's like trying to break me out of that. So, um, okay. So yeah, the fact that when my mom found out, and it became where, that's three people's a crowd, you know what I'm saying? So it started off being like, this is not going to be something I ever tell anybody, to something that now three people close to me know about. And now it's like getting openly discussed. Like, this is the first season that's happening. And I attributed a lot of the other stuff that happened after that to the fact that it seemed to be like coinciding with the fact that it was kind of getting more public. But I don't know if that's why it kind of picked up after that. I just think that it was just the time. It really just felt like it's like when something hits an exponential thing, and it just hits that curve and just starts going up. It's like that's kind of what has been happening. So, okay, so let me tell you about the song Redemption, since I'm already talking about that kind of sort of. So he showed me that, and a lot of Christians already been doing this, like instinctively, but he's showing me that it's a real thing to sort of redeem the songs. So I got all these songs from like different genres and put them on the list, and a lot of love songs, not a lot of gospel, or not a lot of, Christian approved sanctioned songs on it. And he's saying that's because I already understood this principle and I was already doing this, where if you redeem the song and make it not what it was originally about, then it just becomes ours. And then we can keep it. But it's like, you can change. It's like, when you think about it, it's like, okay, the person that wrote it they ain't singing about who they actually wrote it for. The record company ain't selling it for the reason the person sang it for. The person singing it ain't singing it for the reason the writer wrote it for. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody is compromising the integrity of the song in order to get the thing to make money. You know what I'm saying? It's already not a pure product. So let the right just have it, you know. And that's always been my stance, even on like what's going on now with P. Diddy and whoever. If there was a scandal, you're not gonna like cheat me out of a song. There's like really good live musicians on that song. I'm gonna throw that song out because that dude did something in his off day that was whack. It's like, unless it was happening during the recording of the song, I don't know why we need to throw out Step in the Name of Love. Like, that song is a banger. I don't know why he put that out. I mean, he tend to do that. It's like, let me put out, that was way back. That was, 90s era. So people were still down with that. Like, you put out something real good, we'll forgive you of all your crimes. So that's what it was back then. And he put out that doggone thing. Everybody was like, dang, damn it. Now we're conflicted because we really wanted you to just fall off. And he just like refused. So listen, he stepped side to side in there for a different reason. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Like you shouldn't have did what you did. Like pay your consequences in jail. What you did was a legal matter. I'm gonna continue to rock with the song that you made. Like that song is still mine. Like that's about our anniversary. That ain't about you going to jail for being stupid. Like so that was already my attitude towards anything. Like, the only time there's a hiccup is like with Michael Jackson and stuff because only because he was such a dear part of my music life that, the going back and forth. Of course I was ride or die in the beginning. Then it's like, ugh. Then you're like, you know what? Y'all are stupid. No. And then you gotta be like, oh snap. Like, and I don't know where it is, but like I I'm mostly on just, whatever. The music is still the music. He was still a genius, whatever. But like I'm not like diving deep into the catalog of the stuff anymore. And like it's sad too because my daughter is like way into him and she's 9 years old. It's like I'm not gonna burden her with all of that baggage. But like she's like, remember when we watched? Because one day, like, every once in a while you have your moment. And so we did like a Michael Jackson marathon or whatever. Because I'm just like, you got to know that the man was on the earth if you're in my house. Like, so she was like, remember we did that? It was so much fun. I'm like, yeah, it was. But there are like, he put, are you wanting me to say this? He put, because I didn't put the song on there. There's just no way in light of what I just freaking told you. There is a song on that Invincible album called Speechless, okay? And it is so like aside from it being like Michael Jackson, like with his like country enunciation, trying to say the most like profound things to you. It's really like it's really like cheesy and kitsch, and it just reminds me of like two people that got married at White Castle, and like this is their song. And like he will not let me take the song off. I'm like, can we like he won't let me skip it or nothing because now I've made myself known to really just be like, can we not? He's like, listen. This is how I feel about you. I'm like, can we not use the questionable person material to convey that? He's like, you're all questionable people. Listen to the song. so so like every time it comes on, I'm just like, okay. And then I hear the fucking harps, and I'm like, why did y'all let him bring harps into the studio for anything? Oh my god. So, but then it applies because it's God. So he's just like, his eyes are closed the entire time. I'm just like, so, so yeah, that's the playlist. And I don't know why I went through all that. Oh, we're talking about song rendition. So the day that I like realized that I could just literally ask God for more, like people always be doing or they always be purporting to do. Um, so then I'm always expecting this like embarrassing class of me trying to do something that's really hard for me to do. And I don't know, he sort of didn't disappoint, but like at the same time, it was like he was just being very gentle with me about something that should is probably simple for most people and children. But like, I'm out here like first day of class, it's like me trying to, put my head underwater, like I was saying. I hope I told y'all that story. I can't even tell anymore what I've already said. So, so at one point, when you start asking God for more, and then And then I did this thing like I'm always panicked. I'm like, what if he's like trying to like what if I have to ask for more like every 10 seconds? You're just going to do that? And why would I do that every 10 seconds? Like why would I like, I'm just like coming up with like the most like weirdest things to object to and just I mean it's just the weirdest thing. So, so at some point if you're a millennial and you're asking if you're asking God's asking you to ask him for more, you're going to start saying, give me some up. Give me some up. So eventually that happened. So I was like, give me some up like that. And I was like, oh no, babe, are we going to have to add that to the playlist? He was like, play that shit right now. I was like, oh my God. Because, I mean, do you listen to the lyrics really? Not really. I mean, I get the gist. Everybody gets the gist of the song. But no, have I looked at the actual lyrics of that song before? No. Like, so he told me to play that song right then and there. I'm already ready to be like way hyped up because I already know what he's trying to do. I already know what he's trying to do. He trying to redeem the entire rap genre. He's trying to do and he really can because what they really low key did is just write rhymes for him because he's literally the only person that can really a lot of these songs out here like they get sometimes they get a little it's a little too much but not really because you're trying to I mean Jay-Z and this whole thing that we just been all grumbling about stay away from him he done ghost wrote like so many songs for God. You know what I'm saying? So I turned this song on. It's already a song that gets you hype. And if you haven't heard it in a long time, do you know what I mean? That song start and I can't open my phone to show you what the lyrics are. But I just remember there was one part that said, got something it said something like got a little something that make a nigga close both of your eyes. And I like screamed like when you scream in your room. I was like screaming in my room and it was like scratching my throat up. Like I was just like, oh my God. Like when you switch your mind to think that something could be about him and then you start listening to that thing, it is insane. There's things that like you're like, wait, I kind of like, why don't I hate that? And then you realize like, because it's perfect, and that's why you don't hate it. And then all I remember is jumping like 6 feet in the motherland when this one line came on. It was like the second verse, and he said something lyrically flow and caress you. Then he say, bless you. Then a nigga come to your rescue. Girl, I almost like careened out of my window, girl. I was so hyped after I heard that line. I don't even know what to tell you. Like, I wish I could just recreate it, but I can't. So, and I'm blasted and I'm just in my room, like, dancing to this song. Like, it's like we're at the club. Okay. So then after that, because I left that in the episode and I was listening to it. And he was like, what you did was you redeemed the song because I was talking about how the chorus is like, whatever. It's like, you niggas had enough, give me some more. You niggas want the wild shit, give me some more. And then there's a line where he says, Spliff, who's the guy who's like his right hand man, if you know anything about Busta Rhymes lore. Okay, so he's like, yo, Spliff, where the weed at? And it says, give me some more. But like, the reason why I even thought of the song "Give Me Some More" is because I'm thinking, "Give me some more Holy Spirit." Like I'm trying to ask God for more of Him. So when I hear the chorus, the "Give Me Some More" is about the Holy Spirit. It's not about whatever He's saying in the middle. which is originally what the song is supposed to be. Like when uh he says, even though we're getting money, you can give me some more. So he said, even though you're getting money, even but the give me some more like stays the same. So you're supposed to to sing that like, even though we're getting money, you can give me some more money. But like I literally, when I was hearing the song, it was, even though we're getting money, you can give me some more Holy Spirit. And then say cars in the big crib. Whatever, give me some more Holy Spirit. Like it changed the whole meaning of the song and kind of got kind of like way hyper, because it's like whatever. It made it where it turned a song that was about greed and not being happy with enough to, yeah, we got a big crib, but we just want the Holy Spirit. It turned it into an entirely different energy that you should probably sing because it's cool. Cars in a big crib, give me some more. Just where the weed at? Give me some more. Like we're not. So what? We get high and then we do a Bible study. It's really good. Like, give me some more Holy Spirit. Like, that's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that matters. That's what that song means now when you redeem it. So he was saying, yeah, you redeemed the song. You changed the entire meaning of it. Like, because, yeah, that song never got me as hype as it did when I changed the meaning. Now that song is in alignment. You know what I'm saying? It was an okay song before. Now it's like a great, meaningful song. If that song ever come on in a club, I'm gonna have this. It's gonna look the same. The reaction gonna look the same, but it ain't gonna be the same. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I recommend, if you're a millennial and you know that song and you're a Christian, you should just get over yourself, maybe smoke a little bit, and listen to that song like as God like coming and doing like a monster freestyle in the middle of your party. Just just thinking of God saying me and my niggas about anything, just scratch an itch that I didn't know that I was even there. Like, who is he talking? Is he talking about a billion angels? Is he talking about just him, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus? Is he just talking about him and whoever? Like, me and my niggas got like whatever. Like, I did not know that I needed that, and now that I know that I need it, I need to have it. Like, I need more of that. So it's kind of like, don't try to do it now because it's not going to be able to. We just need to retroactively go through and find all the songs that this would apply to and plug it in, because no one's going to deliver it as purely after this information. Because trust me, you're like, when you realize it, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's going to add a dimension to your life. So anyway, that was an important thing that he wanted me to talk about, song redemption. Okay. And then I do have a little clip on that too, like somewhere. Basically, but I did sum it up pretty well. Okay. So yeah, this is I'm seeing bit by bit. I think I'm gonna have to do a separate, just on the finale of season 4. I'm gonna have to put the clip of it. It's gonna get clipped to high heaven. It is 4 hours long. 4 hours long. But for a reason. Um but I'll just have to do that as its own thing, because it's already been an hour. I'm almost done, but like that would need its whole separate thing. But basically, I'm starting to see, and this is just in the last like 2 episodes, and I recently re-listened to them, and I can hear that he is starting to give me the message. And at one point, he is comparing like the if you know anything about the parable of the wheat and the tares. The tares are the weeds. The wheat needs to be harvested, but it can't because the weeds are in the way, and he doesn't want to pluck them all. The trying to remove the weeds, he might pluck up some of the wheat, so he doesn't want to do that, so they grow up together. I mean, this is the parable, right? So he's starting to compare the tears to like a virus. Like because he's saying a lot of like parables. Uh, he's like he's not gonna be mad when the parable don't make sense no more after 2,000 years because people literally just don't touch grass. You know what I'm saying? So a couple of times he has changed the parable and made it more modern. This is what I'm saying. You could literally just go get this from him. People don't know this. I guarantee you they don't. The videos would be a lot cooler. I promise you. So he changed the parable for me, and so one of them was he compared the tears to a virus, and so that was one thing that happened. That was probably like episode 8, and he's talking about movies and like yeah we the sense that we have that they are showing us things in the movies. um he's like, and like the one that he was talking about that made him say this was I just watched that Mission Impossible, like AI whatever, something protocol or something. And I remember when it came out, I was gonna go see it, but everybody was like, man, it's okay. It just gets bogged down, blah blah blah. So I finally watched it on Amazon, and it was okay. Like especially for movies today, it was okay. It was pretty good. It was decent. I don't know if I'd pay like 30 bucks, which is what you end up paying nowadays at the theater, but he was like, yeah, why if these movie plots aren't real, if they're made up, like why is the plot so that sophisticated, but the movie itself just completely sucks? Like if it's if the idea is sophisticated enough to be like something you never heard, like the rest of the movie should be watchable. You know what I'm saying? Like a mind that could come up with that ought to be able to come up with the rest of it. He's saying, like, yeah, they're just they're putting not all of the movies, but like some of the big ones like The Matrix, the ones that are like conspiracy, you know, legend. The Matrix, The Truman Show is another one that he brought up. Like some of these movies are them telling you something that's happening, but like it's not always them like telling you the future. Sometimes it's like telling you the present and like how you look at how it should be looked at, how it could be looked at if you knew the truth. Like, and it's just like, okay, like it reminds you of that whole truther community, which I was a proud member of and am still. I think it depends on uh how they take this information. But yeah, it had that whole vibe, but it was like complete, because it's God, and it's kind of like, I don't know, worse news maybe, I don't know, but it's like we were close, but no, like nowhere near. It's just really interesting. Okay, so another thing that's starting to happen is, and this is all like the episode before. So this is basically like the last thing that happens before this bomb gets dropped, which is really like just the information he's been telling me already. But now I've put it together as to what's going on. So towards the final episode, or basically it's a part 1 and 2. That's why I'm saying it like that. The final episode, I'm talking about how um, he had me click on a video that popped up randomly on my YouTube feed, and I'm talking randomly. Like it's this channel that's like a dog whisperer type channel, but like I think he primarily deals in like dogs that have been in kennels or like have been like locked up. It's not so much about like obedience training. It's just like I don't know, dogs that have been abused or whatever. So just a little that I watched of it, because I watched like maybe one or two videos after that. But so this video, the title of this video was called "Watch What Happens When I Change Her Name from Venom to Honey." And I mean, sir, like whoever titled that, like I don't know, like it was clickbaity for the thing, but it was just so like it caught my eye, and he was like, "Click on it." So yeah, I mean, click on this video, and yeah, basically it was this dog that the people had left, had went on vacation and left him there, or he had to be picked up because he was wandering around, or it was a girl, I think. Like, so they had left the dog at the house, and now it was at the shelter, and apparently they had come to get it, and then they dropped it back off, and now they don't want it back. They keep calling to try to get them to come and get the dog, and they don't want the dog back. So the dog been there like longer than most of the other dogs are there. So I already got a kind of got a clue of what he's trying to show me. Like the dog is me, I am the dog, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, but he's really like having a conversation with me about my identity. And, that whole thing was him saying, like, after I'm kind of sort of trying to diagnose myself, or we're going through and we're talking about like what must a dog feel like, because he goes into the cage and she'll do nothing. Like, I guess a dog is supposed to like instantly, wag tail, do all these signs or whatever. You get in there, she just looking at him. You know what I'm saying? And then he sit down. He has a treat. She doesn't even try for the treat. Like, this is all like abnormal behavior. And um, he spends as like enough time in there for there to be an improvement, for there to be a video. And yeah, by the end of the thing, he calls her. Um, he changes her name to Honey, because the dog. It's not even like the dog was like a vicious breed or anything, and she didn't have a vicious disposition. So he was like, "Yeah, this dog doesn't need to be named Venom. Like, it should be called like Honey or Sweetie or Sugar or something like that." And so he asked the person that worked there, like, "Do you like honey or sugar?" And she said honey. So they changed the dog's name. And it was all just, I mean, what can we even do? It was incredibly poignant. We know that God changes names, like that's his thing. And so um he's basically telling me that he is the one that did that to me, and that he was going to fix it, or that he was, it's like that's over now, and now we're doing this kind of thing. And he's like telling me, like, I almost want to say he was admitting to me, like, because of the way that his energy, he wasn't like, so that was me, I did that. He was like admitting that he allowed that for the time being, like, and he's aware of like all of my different defense mechanisms and why they're there. But uh like, they have to change because they're not, it's not conducive, and it's based on a faulty idea that you have about yourself. So he started doing that. And um oh yeah, he starts talking about the Pharisees and how they are like the origin of the bureaucrat, like that is their, that's the same. So when you see him going off to the religious leaders, like we say religious leaders, and we go, yeah, religious leaders, but it was a government. So the religious leaders were the bureaucracy, they were politicians. That's why he was railing against them. That was the beginning of it. It was real bad then, is what I'm saying. Like, it was real bad then, and that was his reaction to them. And that was their reaction to him. Do you know what I mean? So he's telling me that. And then he told me, wow, this is gonna be have to be the last thing. I mean, it's basically the thing. Um, so when he's telling me about my identity and telling me like, he's gonna change my name, and he's like, so you need a new name, and I'm like, okay, because like, this is all happening. This is, when if I'm recording this as an episode, he's talking. So that's, if I'm responding in my head. Like I've taken the back seat, I'm in my head, he is talking. And so all of this is on the episode, but like I just was like I was overwhelmed. Like I was overwhelmed because I don't know, it was just like so biblical. I couldn't even know what to do. It's like, when your celebrity crush does that thing, like you just can't even believe it. So he was going to give me a new name. Well, I had already started writing, like doodling at some point during the episode. And so there was a giant K on my paper. And my mom's first name starts with a K. So I'm thinking my mom's name, like when I first see it. But like, I didn't know it had anything to do with anything. But like, then it seemed like it did. So then I wrote like another letter, like a bubble letter of an E. And I have no idea why I wrote that. I think I was still doodling, so I had a K and an E. So then it was like, okay. I was like, Lord, don't be having me doing no automatic writing or whatever. And then, like, again, this is all on the thing if I decide to post this. He's like, automatic writing? The hell? He's like, ain't no automatic writing. Look, you just gonna write it by faith. So he's like, okay. And eventually I was like, did not think I could do that. So then he's like, fine, just do one single line. So he had me write one single line in faith. He's like, go, 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 go. So I'm writing and I am creating a Y. Like, so it's Key. So now I'm thinking the first thing that pops in my head is Keystone, and it will not leave, which I think is like a brand of beer or something. So, and like when I saw the E, really, I was thinking Keystone already. And it's really weird. I don't know if he wants me to share this or not. Like, I don't know. Y'all probably don't care. He don't care, but I know y'all probably don't even care to like care. But like he'll say things that are not correct. And like in the sense of like, so when I said Keystone in my head, and he was like, it's not Keystone. But like then he changed it, and he was like, because when I heard it, I probably was panicking, because I was like, Keystone, what kind of name is that? He's like, it's not Keystone. He's like, and then he said, at least I don't think it is. I don't think it's Keystone. And we'd already established that like the Holy Spirit was helping me do this whole thing. So he said that it wasn't, and then he kind of fixed it. And he does this thing where it's like there's always a way for him to, it's like, well, then it was like the Holy Spirit's doing it, he doesn't know it. There's always a way to like explain that stuff if you really really want to, and typically you really really want to, which I think is what allows him to do that. But like one day he'll do things that make him seem like he is normal. So one day I was like, oh, are you doing that because um we're all limited, or it's like you want us to say limited to a certain degree, like if you like fed us everything, then we wouldn't need other people. So like you're like limited in a certain measure, like we can't have everything to the point where we don't need another person. And he was kind of like, yes, very good, you guessed it, that's exactly what's going on. Like he said it all weird, like for me to have another thing to do that with, and also just to be weird. Like, so I don't know. So he said that it wasn't, and then he was like, "Well, let me say this. I don't think that it is." And then I told him, I was like, "I'm hearing Keystone like a son of a bitch. Like I can't like it won't. I can't not put that down at this point." So then I was like, "Is that the Holy Spirit? Is that Keystone?" And then I write. So then before I wrote Keystone, I looked it up. I didn't want to like, if I'm supposed to be commemorated, it's supposed to be my name or whatever. I don't want to have Keystone be my name if it ain't the name, because it's so weird. So then I look up the meaning of the word Keystone. And it's basically like it's the centerpiece in an arch that makes the arch stand up. It's like without that piece, the whole arch comes down, or, it's not going to stand on its own. Because it's like they weren't using like mortar, you know what I'm saying, to keep things whatever. It was like they were using physics to like make the arches and make buildings stay straight by principles of masonry. Like, so I was like, okay, that sounded eerily like God, like a lot. That it was giving personal message energy. So I was like, it was a lot. Like the implication was a lot, but I was just like, Keystone. Like, I was like, okay, so this is like, he's not going to actually like go around calling me this. But he's like, you need a new name. And he even said like, the Christine's nice, but like it's got a lot of baggage for you. And uh it's not like, I'm not going to answer that name or anymore or something like that. He's already calling me Hadassah, and now I have another nickname or another name. It's Keystone. So I was like, huh. I mean, that was like really, it was one of those things like, even in its unassuming state, it's like, yo, so he gave you a new name and that was the name? Like, how do you make yourself do that just because you're on drugs? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, for me, all of that is like pretty well resolved. There's always the possibility, blah, blah, blah. But, at this point, I knew what was going on. I knew who I was talking to. I knew where I was at. I just didn't know what was going on and why. Well, uh, so then when he tells me that name and he's telling me about like, how I had these gifts so early and blah blah blah. And like, I'd learned to walk by faith, not by sight, like basically by instinct because uh I had to, because my physical life was not lining up with my what I felt like I had in my insides. So I had to just shut my eyes, he said. But he also said that he made me blind, and that's why he had compared me to Toph. Like, in the previous thing, that's what he was saying. And he was like, I gave you the blindness. This is when he was telling me about the stuff about the dog and comparing me to the dog and having me go through something that I did not understand, because all I knew is that my owner was dropping me off and then coming to get me and then dropping me off again and then never coming to get me. And I'm in this place and there's just other dogs and I have a home. Like, maybe it's like, sis, they're not coming back. Just get over yourself. And then anybody open the cage, you're past like being like, oh, is this like, are they coming to get me out? Like, that's never happening. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, I did that. And, I did that for a certain time period, but, you know, I'm here now or whatever, is what he was saying. And because I really just went through to great lengths to not sort of like try to blame him for anything or even make him part of that conversation. So I had like really, and then I didn't want to ask him about anything. And that was the other thing he brought up, or I brought up, because, I, I'm sitting in the revelation. I'm looking dead at it. I don't know what I'm looking at yet entirely. And I'm thinking about the fact that, sorry, my neck is killing me for some reason. I'm thinking about the fact that people talk about having a relationship with God, but they don't know, like, that they could have, like, literally the whole thing. Like, that it exists. It's not like a metaphor, it's like real. And then I was thinking about, um, the fact that you kind of get fooled because you think that the relationship is, you've got wife, this is your wife, this is your mom, this is your kids, this is your sister, brother, grandchildren, friend, co-worker, pastor, and then God is this other piece, and everybody's got their piece of you, and God has his God piece, and it's like not like that at all. Like he's all the relationships. He's all the relationships, and you have this complete relationship, like, that is as whole and complete as you want it to be, and in whatever thing that you're missing or not, don't have or whatever, or want more of. He can be any of those things at one time, and also himself. And so I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, and people get like tricked because when you do it that way, that 10% way where you're giving him his little piece, his little tithe or whatever of you, it's not like your life wouldn't improve with that. So it's like your life improves with that, but you don't know that there's anything beyond that. You just think you're not, this is what it is. This is what it is for most people. And yeah, some people seem to be more on fire about it than others, but like, this is how it's done. And then I was like, um, the people who genuinely do want more, they don't know that they can just ask for it. Like, they don't ask. And I'm thinking of like just the total emphasis on asking that's in the Bible and what it's for. And I'm realizing that's what it's for. It's not just him going on about his like magnanimous attributes and like, this is how badass I am. Like, this is how complete I'm going to answer your request. And then you decide whether you're going to believe that or not. You know, you're like, yeah, right. It's like the degree to which you believe it is the degree that you get stuff from God. And it's like, that's true, but it's like, it's just fitting over top the real information, this stunted uh, understanding that we have of it all. And I'm realizing that the lack of asking is keeping people from just simply knowing, because that's the one thing that God needs you to do to make the whole thing complete. And it's so downplayed, and everyone's faith is in the toilet. And, you know, the gifts aren't for today anymore, and all of these things. I could have done it earlier, but I was shit at asking and had always been just scared to death. Not really scared, but just like it was painful. Like the 50-50 was the odds were always too low. Always too low. And I never asked him for anything for the same reason. And I never um even asked God, had worked up the courage to like actually ask God how I was doing, because I didn't want to know. I was scared to find out. So now I'm finally in a place where I'm doing all of these things and I'm asking, or I'm understanding that that's what I was lacking, and it's no wonder. And he's putting that back together for me and telling me about my identity and how loved I am, and never missing an opportunity to do that, and taking me through this obedience, and taking me through this cockamamie thing that um, your Christian morals all day will tell you it's like the dumbest decision ever, but you're hearing a voice. So keep going, keep going, keep going. So then the next day, and also I'm getting as zooted as I possibly can, which he is adamant about telling me. He's like, take some more, take some more. He's team, take some more the entire time. And I'm thinking it's because, first I thought it was because I was supposed to, it was some junky plan that he was telling me about that was going to do it. Then he tell me, surprise, that was a test. You don't have to do that no more. So now I'm just out here with no fear, because I know that, he loves me. I'm not quite sure what we're doing, but I know that he's safe. Like, I'm just going further, more and more in the direction of God. And let me tell you something. It just, again, this all coincided on, me buying. I had these the thing that I was usually taking, which is the chocolates. Usually take a half of those. Well, I bought the caramels, which are slightly more potent. And I don't know enough to know how much slightly more potent is. I don't know if it's got to be double to be more potent, or it's just got to be like 5% more to be more potent. If I had to guess, if I was a thinking person, I would say it only needs a little bit more to be very much more potent. So I bought these like caramels, and they were disgusting. But that is how I got episode 9. And the other half, which is probably more than half, if we're being honest, is how I got episode 10. And basically, episode 10 is where he showed me what he had already shown me, but it was like the implications, where, and it wasn't just that he showed me. I went through it. I experienced it. I woke up and I was a fearless Christian. I was a fearless Christian. It was like the last bit of fear that I had just went out of my fingertips and I had none. And it was like in that moment, like I don't need him to tell me anything. I understand what he's done. Because I find out that when the Bible say that the perfect love casts out fear, that shit is literal. It's literal. It's not a beautiful sentiment about how potent love is, and that every once in a while you might hear a story about somebody and they use that scripture to apply. I'm talking about it cast the fear out. It was gone. I was fear free for the first time in my life. In my life. And I was like, oh my God. The thing that I have been talking about is the thing that he had me do. I said, no one knows about this. No one knows about this. Like, and that's not an exaggeration. Like, it sounds like that should be, I'm the one with the revelation. Bro, we'd have seen it if you had it. You don't have it. There's no way. There's literally no other way that you could be if you have this revelation. You'd be like me. Whatever your version of fearless, your fearless version of you is, that's what you would be, and you're not. So you don't have it. Like, I had to concede that what he'd been telling me this entire time was 100% true. Because when that day that I felt that fearlessness, and then the scripture just came, whatever, without any, it was like, oh my God, it's all literally true. And the reason why people don't know is because there's this fake simulation over top of what we're doing, over what he's doing. And that's what we've been doing for the last who knows how freaking long. And now he got to find somebody that's going to go outside the bounds of the simulation to get to him, to get to the actual source of it. Because the point is, people don't understand that they have complete and total freedom in Christ. They think that that's some cute little saying. I've got freedom in Christ. Woo! And then we cheer because the idea is delicious. No, it's literal. He don't have no way, don't no reason to control you. And this was the story that I forgot to tell you about. This is what really opened the whole thing for me, aside from all these breadcrumbs. So when he's telling me about the dog, and he's telling me that, from a young age, I had these gifts, this, that, and the other thing. And I brought up this memory of being, it's like I hadn't been less than a year because I had on a diaper. And I was like, yeah, I had this memory. Of like pooping in my diaper, okay? And that sounds really weird. I know a lot of people have dreams like that. Some people say they remember when they were born, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, but it's not really that I remember that I was pooping. I remember having a thought about it. And I remember just like whatever small little discernment I had, you know what I'm saying? I remember being like, there's something going on. It's that thing is happening again. You know what I'm saying? Just little. And I'm like, it's this thing happening again. And then I go, like, as I'm remembering it, I'm literally remembering something remind me, like, you can do that thing that you learned or whatever. And it was almost like God was trying to say that was the Holy Spirit back then that talked to you. It was like that voice that answered you was him, which made me like blubbery. And for a while, I like didn't even want to believe it because this is an old memory that like this has been with me. There's a lot of things he brought up to me that I had forgotten, like for years, for decades. And this thing's been with me. And the idea that he was there the whole time, like basically the same relationship that we currently have in its most infantile state ever was like too much. First, I was like, wait, no, like I didn't know if I was planning a false memory in my own head or something. So I was like paranoid about it. But he ended up proving that he was right. But um, he was, and so I was talking about like, being that little, and I just so happened to refer to that function as involuntary. And he said, this is how he gave me the whole thing. This is how he gave me the rest of it. Us talking about me having a memory about pooping in my diaper, dude. He said, no, that wasn't involuntary. That's not an involuntary action. Yeah, y'all give that name because, yeah, you might not be able to control it at that age, but it's only because you're not cognitive. You're not old enough to understand the concept of control at all. But it ain't involuntary just because you don't want the shit to happen when it happened, whatever, and the baby can't put it in its proper place. It's like first of all, it only matters because it's waste. But he was like, yeah, it's not involuntary. He said, you just did it because it needed to be done. You just doing things that need to be done in the moment. He said that's what you naturally do. That's what you come to Earth doing. You come to Earth just doing whatever needs to be done in the moment, whenever. It's like what is it? What do we need to be? You don't need potty training up here. You don't need any training at all up here. He said that's why they call it potty training because they got to train you to be that way. He said, but yeah, up here we just do whatever is necessary whenever, at any point. Like that's how you naturally are, and you got to learn to be otherwise. He said it's uncontrollable up here. It's uncontrollable up here. Then what we need control for up here? Everything's perfect up here. Ain't nobody trying to control you. He's like, you only need control down there because uh, everybody is still making the choice of whether they want to do right or do wrong. So in the interim, you need control. You only need control when there's a choice. Girl, I'm telling you, it's gravy day every day with me and him. He said you only need control when there's a choice. Once the choice is made, you can go back to uncontrollable. He said, and then he said, uncontrollable, which is me, by the way. That's my contribution. That's my image. You're uncontrollable, like me. I got no desire to control you, but you will make a choice. So, in order for there to be a choice, there needs to be control. But once the choice is made, you can return back to your uncontrollable state. You talking about this is what we get as Christians. I was like, wow, wow, hi. Just like the days, just like all the revelation he's been giving me. But on that final day, I put it together. I put it all together. Him talking about needing to be invited. Him trying to get me to ask. Him talking about being uncontrollable. Him talking about Israel being a government, and the Pharisees being the first bureaucracy, and the tares being like a virus. Girl. So the entire church system got to go. It's got to go. It's the whole thing's got to go. And anybody that want to go with it need to go with it. Anybody that wants to go with God needs to go with God. If there's some overlap, great. There's going to be some overlap. They use the exact same book, and see, this is what the devil does. I'll clip it, but this is the gist. The devil not tricking us with lies about this or that thing, or luring us here and there. No, we're lured by our own evil lusts and desires. They're not luring us here and there. The ones of us who are in church and want to do the right thing. But he don't want y'all doing the rightest thing. He don't want y'all knowing what the rightest thing is. Y'all can stay down there with that little right thing down there. So he just uses the Bible. He just used the truth and say the truth to you, because the component that we're missing is the actual relationship with God, which we cannot develop unless we do some bullshit. I mean, at this point, for us in our current state, what we would need to do to know that we can break through, and that there's like so much more, we'd have to like get over our, I won't even say that. We'd have to listen to God tell us to do something that's going to plow through all the bullshit, and we got to keep listening, keep listening, keep listening, keep listening, till the chains, literally, it was like one day you just hear a clink, and you look and something fell off, and you just do that, and you're like, you don't even know you was wearing nothing that whole time. And then you're like, you're number one off the assembly line, because there's people that you could even say in hindsight, like, maybe are on the right track or close, or don't realize that people don't understand what they're talking about, because it's all the same language. I'm going to use the exact same language that everyone else used, because it is from the Bible. But what the devil does is he knows that we're not getting that personal component from God anymore. And God can't tell us, because the whole thing is a test. So you have to ask for more of him to get it. And then you'll get it. Very simple. Like, but, we see other people. We don't believe. It's like the whole thing is shrouded. We all think this is how it's supposed to be. Both people who are righteous and love God, and the people who are wicked and don't, but are in the same place that you are. It would have to take somebody to go beyond to see how far out this goes. And the freedom is, as far as I can tell, limitless. Like, so he just showed me how, like, Satan blinded the eyes of believers. It ain't got nothing to do with the world or the wicked or none of the people. And that our enemy isn't, are in our midst. It's the weeds that are staying and that can't be taken out, because they might take some of the wheat with it. It's the tares. So he gave me like a ton of gravy, a ton of revelation on that too. But I say all that to say, like, this is like my last recap. It's probably going to go to clips from here on out. I don't know what he wants me to do, if he wants me to come on and like do lives. I was thinking about like having like Bible studies or whatever, like at a certain time of week, Friday night or something. I don't know. But yeah, so the the episode is 4 hours, and I'd say about an hour of that is not shareable because our relationship is not this idea that we're ready to go to the rated G heaven and have it be like Disneyland where there's no trash cans. Like, do you know what I mean? We're so surrounded by everything. First of all, we got to pay money for it, and then it caters to, they do the market research and they see what most people are okay with, and they rate the movies are rated, with general audiences, parental guidance, blah blah blah, and we get this idea in our brains that this is how heaven is going to be. We are not living in the reality. We're the ones not living in the reality. He can't help that. He tried to do it y'all's way, where he kept his language nice, and y'all cried, and then you went home and got on your computer. So he gonna not do that no more. I think is why he's having me do this like this. He gonna have somebody listen, and yeah, it's gonna be an uphill battle for me probably. I don't know. I'm predicting that because for the same reason why I didn't want to share any of this in the first place. But it don't matter about me no more. And Holy Spirit, did you just bring that up to me? This very day, I read something in Jeremiah, which he finally got me to read, um, which is a long-standing prophecy. I used to hear it back in the day a lot. I don't hear it so much anymore, although I'm not really at church anymore. So, but a lot of people, and by a lot I mean like 3 strangers, um, told me that I had the spirit of Jeremiah, and it always stuck with me, even though I kind of dreaded it because it was like, yeah, Jeremiah went through a lot. But, I carried it around anyways without any proof besides people saying it to me early on. And so he kind of was this secret part of my identity that I just didn't share with anybody. And, when people preached out of Jeremiah, or, that hearing that very first thing of how he got called and all that stuff, it was all very poignant for me. And he finally had me go through it. And I'm still only like, I'm not even halfway, I don't think. I'm about 15, 16. And he showed me a verse that gave me the right to be how I'm going to be from now on. I do believe, because I'm already trying to etch it to my memory, but I do believe it's Jeremiah 9:23. And I feel like he wants me to say, this started out as a visual, and I think this is, I'll probably say this more than once. So let me just start now. If you're a believer and you're watching this, and you go to Jeremiah 9:23 off of what I just said, the Lord wants you to know that if you ask him a question, any question, he will give you the answer. Um, so yeah, I'm a prophet apparently. I'm a prophet apparently. And what's funny is as he had me read Jeremiah and I realized that it's a fucking conversation. Never heard a single thing preached on it. Never heard anyone bring it up at all. He's literally having a conversation with God, which is what I've been doing, whatever. And I'm starting to notice that, Isaiah, it's like Isaiah and Jeremiah are both quite verbose. And that being a prophet may have, especially a major one, meant that you wrote a lot and that you knew how to write, both like practically and probably you had a talent for it. And I'm realizing that, Isaiah, because when I saw that in Jeremiah, I just was like I was just having to reread something else immediately with these new eyeballs. And I'm seeing that Isaiah's style is different from Jeremiah's. He's not really doing conversations, but I'm seeing the breaks in the chapters where they were different days. I'm seeing like that passage that we quote all the time about the heart is wicked and deceitful above all else, who can know it, is Jeremiah fucking talking to God. God didn't even say that shit. This just happened today. He didn't even say that. That's him saying something after God says what he says. And then Jeremiah says, but Lord, the heart is wicked and deceitful above all else. Who can know it? Then guess what he say? I know the heart. I examine the heart. And, weigh the deeds and the mind, whatever, the whole thing. So I'm happy to relearn, but it's just amazing that we really are out here. We're showing our ass. We don't know, and we're showing our ass to the devil. He know good and well we ain't been up there too, and that's how we got the world that we got. Not because he's so stealthy and smart, and yeah, he's conniving. He got it to where it's at. He not even tricking us with nothing. He just he put a fake scenery of a long stretching pasture and a gate just to see if anybody would ever go past that. And if you ain't jumping up and down, yelling at the entire rest of the flock of sheep that thing out there is a freaking painting, it's not even a gate, then he know you don't know. Why is he gonna rock the boat for what? You don't know. We'll just keep it right here. So that's what he been doing for God only knows how long. And I think God is using me to put a end to that. So, um, you know, the main way to do that is okay, well, I'm gonna sit in this here bed. I'm gonna sit on this here couch. I'm gonna do what you said. I get the vision. I get it now. I get it. I'm gonna put this little video up. 2 hours. Just me talking. Scarf on the head. And I'm going to speak with conviction. And we'll see what happens. Because I genuinely did not think before I posted this first video almost 2 weeks ago, that online was the way to go. And it went from being uh, a sketch idea to the most obvious idea in about a 24-hour period. So that's what I did. And now this is what I'm doing. Now it's been 2 hours. I hope that the Lord is pleased with this. It does not make me get rid of this. But yeah, the final episode is 4 hours. There is some freestyling. There's a lot of freestyling and cursing because I was zooted. But he really want me to get up there and make a fool of myself and do a freestyle. And guess what? A bitch don't care no more because she fear free. So if that's what we want to do, that's what we do. He told me this thing. He said fig leaves on fig leaves when he was describing how I was perceiving the ministry as a child, because my parents were in ministry, you know, pretty involved. It seemed like I was going to inherit, but I was totally fine to sit back as long as they weren't calling me. I was fine. And, eventually I got to an age where I did kind of feel like maybe, I thought that I was keeping myself out of ministry that whole time. And then when I tried to sort of make these like gentle nudges, it was like, oh, no, it's not just me. Okay, cool. But in the beginning, he was telling me about, how I was perceiving the system itself and how I just, I admired what they were doing and respected what they were doing. But the system was just, it was like, this is like the only place that you can sort of be good at, where it's a virtue to be good. And, that's kind of like inherently part of the system, supposed to be. And the shit was just, I mean, it was like whatever. It was my childhood perception. And he was like, that was the way that he described the church. Fig leaves on fig leaves. Like, as far as what I was seeing. And he said, hey, I was fig leaves on fig leaves. He said, and nobody wanted to discuss that. And you would be like, yo, can we talk about the fact that we are like heavy on the fig leaves? Like, can we at least discuss the fig leaves? I mean, it do say in the word, like, it does talk about like we shouldn't really feel that ashamed about it. Like, we come by it honestly, like, and you could never get an honest fig leaf conversation. Then he said, and you notice that in the world was happy to talk about fig leaves openly and honestly. And they, whatever. They're the only ones that seem to bring it up and laugh about it, or, be dramatic about it or whatever. And you said, maybe I'll go there, but they didn't want to talk about the nakedness. He was like, so you didn't know where to go. It's like, here they talk about nakedness, but they don't want to discuss the fig leaves at all. You go out there, they want to discuss fig leaves and never bring up nakedness. You were just neither here nor there. Anyway, so I'm past my 2 hours. I talked about everything on this freaking list. You cannot indict me, Lord. Okay, yeah. And one of the songs on the list that he wanted me to add was Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys, which I literally never heard unless it was in a freaking, car commercial or something. I did not like the song. I did not respect the song. I thought it was just, an easy, like, cash grab, Olympics, whatever. So I never liked the song. But I knew what it was. And are you leaving?
You want live or something?
No. I can pause it. You want me to pause it?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. All right. So anyway, so yeah, he put that on, and I just, like I was saying before, I just put it on. I didn't go through it. I knew where he was going with it already. We know the chorus. We know what it is, right? So at this point, the song had not played. I guess I'm not doing any more recaps. That's what I said. So unless he wants to change it, should I just be quiet? Okay, maybe he's gonna have me do a season 5 recap as well. It just seemed like a lot of it is like, what can I even tell you about? It just all needs to get clipped up. Like, it just don't seem to follow the same structure anymore. But whatever he decides is what I'm gonna do. So yeah, but yeah, that's the only thing on this list that I did not mention. Everything else is mentioned. Uh, you can't indict me. Are you serious? Okay, so one of the Bruno Mars songs that played, because only like there's like 7 of them on there, and only a couple of them have played, and one of them was "It Will Rain." I cannot believe you're trying to make me talk about this. So that song "It Will Rain" came on, and it was kind of interesting though too, because it was like I knew that was him. He put that song on for me, and the song was, it was different from the other ones. It wasn't just like my love song to him, his love song to me. This was like, "If you ever leave me, I'll be sad." It was like really cute. Like I never even thought of that like as an option for a song to sing to either way, you know what I'm saying? So that was interesting. And the lyrics on that was interesting too. There's a lot of references to bleeding in these songs. I'm like, y'all really just don't even have the right, like, give me this song. Like, would you write that about your boyfriend? You know, Dangerously in Love. I think, I don't know if I talked to y'all about that, but it was like I recently was in the grocery store and that just came to my brain. I was like, oh yeah, that needed to go on yesterday. Like that song needs to be on there. And I was like, who wrote this? Who was it supposed to be for? Like that song is like, it's just like over the top. But yeah, there's a lot of just, I'm like, y'all, this song, the 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 love song catalog is not even starting to really apply to the humans to me. Like it's gotten to the point where I'm like, y'all giving these humans way too much credit. Like needs to go straight to God. Like anyway. All right, so that's literally it. And I guess I will see y'all next time.